Hey guys, Lunatic Fringe here with another intermission episode. It's not the Skyrim one. I'm still trying to find some footage because I want to throw up some kind of footage when I'm talking, but I can't really record on my Xbox. I can't really record Skyrim footage, so I was thinking about doing something else, but I don't know yet. Anyway, um, this intermission video is about something else. Specifically, it's just really giving me an opportunity to bitch about something. Uh, Apparently, people like to hear me bitch about things, because that XCOM video got surprisingly popular, and people posted it on, like, the 2K forums and shit like that. It was weird. Anyway, um, this is just going to be another off-the-cuff kind of commentaries on something that I saw that kind of pissed me off, and I think that this video that I'm going to show you kind of really exemplifies two things that I really don't like in the industry right now, in the games industry, just because, oh, these it's just these two things in this video that really, really piss me off, and they've kind of started to appear more and more and more in in games, and I just kind of wanted to talk about them and show the issues with doing these things because crap. Stupid screensaver ended up blocking me out. Anyway, I'm recording on YouTube again, and basically what I'm going to show you is there's a new Rainbow Six coming out in 2013, I believe. I think that's when they say that the release date is. Anyway, this is from like 2 or 3 months ago. It came out in November, and it's just some of the gameplay footage for their new game, Rainbow Six Patriots. Now, what Rainbow Six Patriots it's about I actually played a lot of the Rainbow Six games. I like Las Vegas and stuff like that. I think they're pretty good, and I like the tactical assessments and all that stuff. It adds a bit more depth to the first person shooter that you don't really see in games that you don't really see in first person shooters that much. But uh, Rainbow Six Patriots is kind of going in a weird direction for the series. What it's about is, from what I can gather, because there's not a lot out on the game yet, but what it's really about is it's about basically there's terrorists emerging in America who call themselves the True Patriots. I think that they call them the True Patriots, but the title's Patriots, so I don't know which one it is. But their main goal is they're very concerned about kind of inequalities in America, like economic inequalities and stuff like that. So it's obviously this big they're trying to make this big commentary on stuff like Occupy Wall Street, the Occupy movement, maybe the Tea Party a little bit too. I don't know. They're aiming for these big, broad kind of definitions of kind of American the split that's sort of happening in America between traditional kind of crony capitalist let's use a better term for that, corporatist America, and the kind of populist stuff that is becoming a lot more popular. Anyway, so it's these terrorists who kind of have this populist image to them. It's for the people and all that kind of stuff. And the whole point about this video is it highlights two things that I really, really hate about two elements that are just doing terrible things to the industry, and that is, one, emotional manipulation, which happens so much in media, and it's getting really bad in games. Like, it's getting ridiculous, and I'm going to show you the emotional manipulation in this gameplay footage, because it's just insane. I'm just going to get the video started right now. There's really not much at the starting. It's just, one of the Ubisoft guys talking about it. Oh, by the way, as soon as the logo comes up, fuck you, Ubisoft, for your DRM. This is just one of the developers talking about the game being leaked and all that stuff. Anyway, the two things is emotional manipulation and poorly constructed political/social commentary. Basically, when they try and ham-fist in these terrible, terrible commentaries that they think are deep, and I think that this really, really exemplifies it. So we're gonna watch we're gonna watch some of the footage and just see. I'm gonna point these things out when they show up. So you start off in your house, and to the game's credit, one thing I really like about this so far is that it does feel like it's a very, very natural kind of living space. Like, it feels like it's somewhere someone would live. It kind of looks, empty in the background, but once again, this is just, like basically a tech demo, so.
Blow it out.
But anyway, you see your wife, it's your birthday, so of course you
know
get
what I
your
wish
birthday
for.
cake. You have a ridiculously hot
The
wife.
baby's still asleep.
Wishes do come true.
You're about to kiss her and all of a sudden the doorbell rings. I have no idea what's going to happen next, you know? Just going to make sure that the sound's nice and high so you can hear some of this stuff.
Get away from her!
So as you can see, here come the terrorists.
Rise and shine. Happy birthday, by the way. Very nice place you've got here. You really did cash in on everyone else getting foreclosed, didn't you? Today you're gonna make up for that.
And that's the first big, really, really stupid, obnoxious political slash social commentary that comes up in this thing. They don't really touch on it that much, but you can see how incredibly ham-fisted and stupid that was. Just because he literally just... You know, no one talks like that. No one walks in and immediately states their political opinions on anything or their social opinions. Like, terrorists don't do that. This is the equivalent of, you know, like a Muslim terror. You know, if they had done this with, say, like, radical Muslims or something like that, this would be the equivalent of the radical Muslim coming up to you like this and saying, you know, like, oh, your woman, she does not wear a veil, or something like that. Something incredibly stupid, which is just intending to, you know, kind of make some sort of commentary on, you know, like what their politics are and or anything like that. And so you basically just have this populist statement out of nowhere that this guy says. This, you know, oh, well, you know, you were really lucky. Well, you know, I guess you got a chance to get this house because all those other people foreclosed, you know? It's just this really, really poor presentation of what you're trying to say, because it's just it's too obvious, and it's just beating you over the head with what these people believe. It's unbelievable. I mean, I think that another really good example of this is BioWare has started to do this a lot more, and it's starting to kind of piss me off too. They did this a lot in Dragon Age. They had a lot of commentary on capitalism and religion and stuff like that. The worst offender being, of course, in Dragon Age 2, there's a moment where if you've played any of the Dragon Age games, you know that there's like this division. There's the Templars have to basically control people who have magical abilities, and in Dragon Age 2, there's one period where the Templars do what's called the Tranquil Solution, which is where they're basically planning on rendering a mage tranquil. Essentially destroys their ability to use magic and renders them emotionless. Anyway, you can see that the Tranquil Solution is obviously, you know, a rip-off of the Final Solution, you know, playing off of Nazism and all that stuff. And it's so ham-fisted and so stupid and out of place. It's one of those, you know, like, the Nostalgia Critic did a really good job with the ask me what it means kind of meme. But this isn't even that. This is just, you know, like, oh, we're making deep social commentary, when really it's just this paper thin, you know, like, hey, it's like what the Nazis did. It's like what the Nazis did, right? So that just drives me nuts. And things like this just, they're not constructive to the medium at all. And on top of that, it gives this kind of this pretentious air of like this game is saying something when it's really not, and this is appearing more and more. Anyway, I'm going to keep the video rolling just because, you know, obviously I've been talking too long at that image, so.
We'll do exactly what we say, or we will field dress her like a deer. Your kid, too. You're coming with us. No matter what happens, you get yourself to Times Square. Tell Treadway Subject 4 is activated.
This upcoming bit I kind of found funny.
Up on the bridge. We're not gonna make it in time.
Stick to the playbook.
The
got this operation.
the van driver is voiced by the guy who voiced Adam Jensen, which I kind of find funny. So anyway, they're putting they put a suicide vest on him, and now they're telling him to go to Times Square and blow himself up, basically.
Engine's cooked.
And then Adam Jensen gets shot. As we all know, Adam Jensen never asked for this, but still. Anyway, this is just going to be the rest of the gameplay footage. I'm not going to really commentate on this so much as I'm going to commentate on what happened earlier on with his wife and you know, the whole we're going to field dress her like a deer and all that kind of crap. This is what I mean by emotional manipulation. Because this is a character, we don't even know this character's name. We know his wife's name just because he says it once. He says Cindy once. We don't know who this character is. We don't know much about his wife. We don't know much about his kid. We don't have any emotional investment in this character whatsoever. And they trump up this big, you know, like, oh, you know, these people are going to get this guy's family and they're going to, you know, make him be a suicide bomber and all this stuff. And it's just for shock value. That's all it is. It's just for shock value. That's all they're trying to do with that, is that they're trying to emotionally manipulate you into having this response against these people for no reason whatsoever other than, you know, like, ooh, it's shocking. And like I said, this is appearing a lot more in games nowadays, and it's so poorly handled. A really big offender would be the Modern Warfare series currently right now. Modern Warfare 2 and No Russian was pretty bad in regards to that because it was just, like I said, just shock content. That was the whole point of doing that entire scene. It was just to shock people. It got even worse when Modern Warfare 3 came around, because at least in Modern Warfare 2, when you had No Russian, it was a you at least had some gameplay in regards to it, and you know, you had some player agency in regards to the in regards to the event as well, because it allowed you to, you know, respond to it, or you know, you could engage in you know, the crazy, you know, kill everyone in the airport mission, or you could just, you know, like follow the guys and stuff like that. Modern Warfare 3 makes it completely removes the element of player agency and instead throws in this, you know, that cutscene of the family, you know, on vacation, you know, you know, I have no idea why American tourists are on vacation while their country's being invaded by Russians, but whatever, you know, but, and then they, you know, and, then the, what's it called? I think it's like I think it was like sarin that the Russians release or something like that. I don't know what it is. Anyway, they release a chemical weapon, and, you know, it blows up the daughter of the family and kills the mom, and then, you know, the dad ends up passing out from, you know, the gas and all that stuff. And it's just pure emotional manipulation. You don't know who these characters are. You know, they're not important of a story whatsoever, and it's just intending to show you, you know, like, oh, these Russians are real bad guys. So anyway, this is we're getting to the point of the video where basically this guy has the bomb still strapped to his chest, and you know, now you're basically here to try and deactivate it. And he's yelling about his wife and his children and all that kind of stuff. And then you realize that the bomb's going off.
This is bad. There's more than 100 people still in the kill radius.
And so in response, wait for it, wait for it, you throw the guy off the bridge and he explodes. Which, you know, once again is mostly intended for shock value. It's not really intended for anything else. That's of course the end of the video as well. And yeah, we're just gonna pause it here and talk for a little bit longer. Yeah, once again, it's just shock. That's all it is. Once again, you have no investment in that character. You don't care who he is. You don't know who he is. And that's all their intention, is just to promote shock value and not really, you know, make anything meaningful out of it. It's just a kind of, it's a way to essentially make you feel angry for no reason, or, you know, just make you pissed off. And I can see what they're trying to do, and I can see how they're trying to, you know, make... I honestly think that people, that a lot of game developers think this makes gaming more serious by doing things like that, and it makes it, you know, like a more powerful medium, but it doesn't. It's essentially just attempting to be edgy, you know? It's just being edgy. That's all it is. It's really nothing beyond that. It's a very calculated, you know, it's a very calculated risk determined by marketing strategies, and not really any kind of, you know, broad, emotional, you know, moment or anything like that. It's essentially, you know, we need something to get the player angry, or we need something to get the player wanting to kill these people, and it's just inane. It's so stupid, and I really hate that in games and in other media too. I mean, movies do this all the time too, and it drives me. Whoops, sorry about that. Yeah, and it happens in other media too, and it just drives me nuts. Like, I cannot... It just amazes me some of the crap that goes on here. Anyway, a lot of this stuff makes no sense, especially the political commentary. The political commentary, let's just track this back a little bit. There's a lot of stuff that makes no sense in regards to political commentary as well. I mean, there's a moment about... Hang on, let me find it. Yeah, this moment, where this guy tries to take a hostage. Okay, populist guys, why are you taking hostages? You know, if you guys are for the American people, what the hell are you doing taking hostages? Here's another part. Watch this. This guy, I actually like this cover system so far. But watch this. There's this girl in the back. They shoot her in the head. Why did you randomly shoot? Well, of course, you know, they could be aiming at that guy. But come on. You're trying to argue this populist, you know, like economic equality, you know, how everyone's getting screwed over by the government and all these people, and you're shooting civilians in the head? I mean, like, how is this consistent at all? Like, it makes no sense in regards to what the political beliefs that they're espousing, and at the same time, it's so obvious that it's a developer thing. The developers have kind of gone with this, okay, well, we need a terrorist group, but, oh, we can talk about, you know, things like Occupy, and we can talk about, you know, like the rising populist movement in America. But at the same time, beyond that, it's still just presenting them as another terrorist group. It's not actually analyzing the problems that these guys are arguing against and, you know, are worried about. It's essentially just, you know, trying to prop them up with this supposedly deep background, while in reality they're really just, you know, it's a paper thin, it's very, very paper thin. So that's pretty much it. That's all I've got to really say on this video. It just really bugs me because, like I said, it just highlights two of the things that are just like, I don't see the point in this stuff. I just don't see how this expands the medium, how it makes, you know, a game more I don't know, how it makes a game story better, I guess. Because once again, it's not like it's a well-written, you know, emotional response whenever this guy is, you know, forced by these terrorists to, you know, put a bomb to his chest or else his family's going to get killed. You don't know who these people are. You don't know, you don't know anything about them. You don't know anything about the terrorist either, except for that stupid one political commentary. So, you know, like, why are you supposed to care? You know, it's just, it's so juvenile, and it's just such a bad way to tell stories in games and, you know, to provoke an emotional response in a game. And that's why I deem that manipulation. And in regards to emotional responses in games, there's a lot of ways that you can do that really, really well. I mean, I've been talking about like Modern Warfare 2 and this as really bad examples of how you create emotional responses, but there are really, really good examples of emotional responses in games. One thing that really comes to mind for me is... I'm just going to back this up and start playing it from like here just so that I have something in the background. One thing that, one game that really, really does emotional responses in terms of war and you know, basically in general, you know, like civilian suffering, soldiers suffering, all that stuff, is World in Conflict, which is an older RTS game, which is about, you know, the Soviets invading in 1989, I believe. Anyway, they have some really, really powerful emotional scenes that don't really have any of this stupid emotional manipulation in it. It's just basically characters acting in a way that they would act, and you feeling sympathy for them, or you kind of understanding where they're coming from. There's a really good bit in World in Conflict with this preacher in Seattle. Seattle's been occupied by the Soviets, and there's this preacher in like this bombed out, destroyed radio station, and he's essentially, you know, on the radio telling people to, you know, like, hold on, and, you know, there's darkness all around us, but, you know, we gotta fight and we'll have victory and all that stuff. In fact, I think I'll throw that up right after this. I'll cut that in and just show you an example of that, because there's that, and there's also these really great emotional conversations between soldiers and their families, and it's really effectively done. And once again, these aren't really characters you know, but it elicits a better emotional response just because it feels real, and it feels like these characters are essentially, you know, are in this situation and they understand it. While in this situation, it's clearly intended for a shock value, and that just drives me nuts. Anyway, so that's about it. That's really the only thing that I wanted to talk about. It's just two things that are really harming the industry in general, I think, are emotional manipulation and really badly done political and social commentary. I'm not saying by any means that you can't have political and social commentary in games, because you have games like Deus Ex, which has some political and social commentary, but a lot of times it's kind of in the background, and I think that that's a really effective way of doing that, is to have that kind of stuff in the background as opposed to your center, unless you have a really, really good writing team and someone who knows what they're talking about, which, let's face it, a lot of video game writers really don't know what they're talking about when they talk about politics or social commentary or anything like that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I'm going to post the preacher and probably one of the conversations between a soldier and his family from World in Conflict, just to show you an example of how you can actually have emotional moments in a game without something really, really stupid and dramatic or anything like that. So usual YouTube shit, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Hope you enjoyed this. Sorry I was kind of going all over the place when I was talking, but I just really wanted to talk about that. So I'll see you next time.
You're listening to Radio Free Seattle, and today we have a special guest here in the studio. The Honorable Reverend Powell has a thing or two to say about the Soviet occupation. Reverend?
I know that we're in a time of war. My brothers and my sisters, trouble don't last always. Over every mountain and through every valley, we shall prevail. Power to the faint and to those that have no might. Your strength shall be increased. We must never, never, never give up. You got to hold on till every battle has been fought and every victory has been won. We're going to shout hallelujah. 'Tis over and 'tis done. No need to worry and no need to cry. I can see the dawning of a brand new day. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. We're going to be victorious.
Yeah?
Hey, Earl.
Mark! It's about goddamn time that you called. Your mother's worried sick, you know that? I thought we agreed that you'd call at least once a week.
I'm sorry, but you might have noticed there's an invasion going on and...
Yeah, and you guys turned and tail and ran, and that's what we get with a bunch of spoiled brats defending our country.
We didn't have any choice. You know how many men we lost?
In my day, we wouldn't have let those commie bastards come ashore in the first place. We would have fought them to the last man, with bayonets if we had to.
Yeah? I don't remember you winning any wars.
We won the battles, son. And if your father were alive, he'd cry to see what you've become. First, that business in Europe, and now you can't even hold your ground when the commies are in your own damn backyard. You goddamn sissy. Mark. Yeah, I'll tell your mother you called.
Earl! Damn it.